I'm Greg Hunter. Welcome to USAWatchdog.com. It's time to have on our old friend, former CIA officer, Kevin Shipp. He's an expert in counter-terrorism. He has wrote a book about the deep state from the company of shadows, knows all about that. He at one time protected William Casey because he's a whistleblower, a bona fide whistleblower. They tried to kill him. He's an ultimate patriot here. Let's have him come on. Kevin Shipp, thanks for joining us today on USAWatchdog.com.
Greg, my friend, it's always good to be with you.
Well, lots of news going on. Also, a little about you have a new website. You used to be called fortheloveoffreedom.net. That is now all being pointed towards Kevin Shipp with 2Ps.com. KevinShipp.com. We'll talk a little bit about your new venture, new websites, the same venture, but more content coming from you, Kevin Shipp. Let's talk about the craziness, the violence. You know what people want to know? Is this going to go on? Is it going to get worse, the violence around the country in all these cities?
It will get worse, Greg. We're going to see it amplify leading up to the election, and it's going to get worse even after the election. These people see this as their moment to act, one that they've been building and waiting for a couple of decades. It's going to get worse. We're seeing the attacks increase, especially by Black Lives Matter. People need to understand and be prepared for what is coming.
Even in my neck of the woods in North Carolina, they've been rioting in Raleigh. They've wrecked downtown. Talk about a chilling effect with business. Why do they think the violence is going to work? I mean, your estimation and your counterintelligence chops. Why do they think this is going to work?
Well, they're desperate. They know that the Democratic Party doesn't have a real candidate to offer, where Donald Trump is extremely strong. And they also know that Trump has a support base that is larger than it was during the last election. And with George Floyd and other things, they're using those and exploiting those as their time to act. And as I mentioned earlier, they've been planning on this for a couple of decades. They were waiting for the right moment. They see this as their moment. They're not going to give up. They're not going to stop. They've been encouraged by Nancy Pelosi. They've been encouraged by Kamala Harris and others to keep Maxine Waters to increase the violence. So they're being encouraged by Democratic elected representatives also. They see this as their moment, and they are not going to stop. They're not going to give up. They will escalate.
The media's role in this. I mean, I worked in the media. I was never a Republican or a Democrat. I just went after good stories. And if you were a Republican, sorry. And if you were a Democrat, yeah, sorry about that. I didn't care. And which is what you're supposed to be, right? I mean, if you're doing dirty, you expose it, and it's the public's right to know about nasty crime. So, but now we have, the mainstream media is engaged in the propaganda. Talk about that.
The mainstream media has been engaged in propaganda. It's essentially the arm of the Democratic Party, and it has been since I started analyzing it for 20 years. So the media is complicit in this because the media wants to do everything they possibly can to get rid of Donald Trump any way that they have to. So they are supporting the propaganda. They're covering up the violence and the killings and the murders and the attacks because they, just like the Democratic Party, want Donald Trump gone.
Why in the world you can fund candidates, even if they're awful people who won't prosecute people like George Soros, funding all these prosecutors, which I think is a way to destabilize America.
Right.
But you can't fund violence. And, you go to the Antifa camp, all the tents are the same. And I mean, somebody is funding this. One guy was arrested in one area, was in another area, another part of the country. I mean, somebody's flying these people around. Rand Paul said the people that were attacking the people leaving the president's speech the other night in Washington were staying in the same hotel as him. The rioters, the agitators. So. What's up with are they doing and are they infiltrating this? Are they going to go after? Why are they not going after George Soros and the other people who are funding this? Soros is openly saying he's funding Antifa and Black Lives Matter.
Yes, and he's doing that through the Open Society Foundation. And we know it's not just George Soros. What is really alarming is the fact that companies like Coca-Cola are giving huge amounts of money to Black Lives Matter, which is not a civil rights organization. It's a Marxist organization. It's connected to the Nation of Islam, which is a black supremacy organization against white people. And they're giving millions. Black Lives Matter, the leaders are now becoming wealthy. So it is pretty clear that a lot of these groups, especially the one in D.C. that assaulted Rand Paul, they are being paid and bussed in there to protest. They are paid protesters.
Do you think that the guy that was murdered and now he's dead because the cops arrested him, the Patriot Prayer guy, he had military experience? I mean, they broke on the internet, and that was one of those things that broke on the internet that became true. He
Yeah,
did have military experience.
he did.
And when the cops tried to arrest him, they shot him dead.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's talk about what's going on with this. These people are increasingly violent. They're bringing guns to these peaceful protests.
Yes. They are. That murder was a pre-planned attack. It's very. You can even hear that on the videotape. Here he is. He's over here. He's over here. They had pre-planned to attack a Trump supporter. That was a pre-planned murder, and I would be pretty sure that the police and the FBI are probably trying to find the other people involved, because that is conspiracy to commit murder. That was a pre-planned hit on a Trump supporter.
Why is this a trial run for more murder?
Yes. Oh, they will. Like I said, Greg, they will do anything to unseat Donald Trump, and that includes murder. And yes, and I just a caution to Trump people when they're out in public: be careful, because they are starting to target people for planned attacks.
The governor of the state said he was a white supremacist. I mean, you got to be kidding me. That he was. They were quiet for what 3.5 months or so, and then maybe somebody took a poll. I brought this with my weekly news wrap up. Then somebody took a poll, and then all of a sudden, yes, the violence, and it's all caused by Donald Trump.
Yeah.
I mean, before it wasn't, none of it was Donald Trump. It wasn't even happening, and now months and months of violence is all caused by Donald Trump. These are like the 8-year-old children.
Well,
I mean, this is what you got. Can you explain to me what they have? Why you say they're desperate? I mean, from the media to BLM to Antifa to the Democrats to Cuomo threatening the president. Why? Is this all they got?
It is all they have, and Trump is, and I think the first president in history is confronting things that other presidents kind of were reluctant to do. He has directly confronted the deep state, the swamp. He has confronted Planned Parenthood and the 500 million plus tax dollars that go to Planned Parenthood. He's confronting everything that these deep state left people hold dear, and so they are desperate to get rid of him any way they can, and the violence will continue, and the planned attacks will continue. And as I mentioned earlier, it is going to get worse, and people need to understand that, and they need to be prepared.
On one of your daily briefs on your new website, you talk about that BLM Antifa are causing civil war. I mean, this is where they want to go, civil war. Tell me why. Explain.
That's exactly what they want. They want a civil war. They want to split America. They understand that in terms of the conservative people out there and the patriots have gained a lot of ground. They are intentionally starting a civil war to overturn our constitutional system, which is their fundamental belief system. And as I mentioned earlier, they see this as their moment. They have begun a civil war, and they're starting serious attacks, not just on conservatives and Trump supporters, but in terms of Black Lives Matter. There's been attack after attack after attack on white Americans simply because of their race.
How is this going to get worse? What should people be on the lookout for?
People need to be on the lookout, and I teach this in my surveillance detection course on Patreon. People need to be on the lookout for these brewing protests, blocking of vehicles on the streets, attempting to pull the person out of the vehicle, which they've done a couple of times, and assault that person. People need to understand that they are now targeting Trump supporters. If you're at a rally, or if you're coming out and staging a counter protest, you need to understand that you are a target. They are carrying weapons now, no longer just bats and collapsible batons, which they've been carrying for a while. They are now carrying loaded firearms with the intent of escalating this as much as they have to remove Donald Trump.
And how is it going to get worse? I mean, are they just going to start going door to door? These BLM people. That's what some people are afraid of. They're afraid. They're also afraid. Other people are saying that they're afraid of a Pol Pot kind of attempt. In other words, they're going to target people who are like you or me, and try to silence voices like Pol Pot did in Cambodia. Do you perceive that happening?
Yes, they are doing that. and they will do that. And even now, and we talked about this and predicted this before, they are now going out into rural neighborhoods. There was a mob of thugs, that Black Lives Matter thugs, that gathered it outside a neighborhood, screaming and yelling and demanding that the white people turn their houses over to Black Lives Matter as reparations. That they're doing that. It's increasing. There's no question about it. Any speech against them, they're going to attack. And again, it's the oldest propaganda technique in the book. It's called labeling. You're a white supremacist. You're a racist, because they have no basis for what they're doing. So they're going to label with propaganda terms anybody that publicly stands against them.
Explain that more. Talk about that labeling.
Well, labeling, it's the oldest trick in the book. And of course, their favorite is, because it's worked up until now, you're a racist. And what that does is that shuts down any discussion, any facts, any investigation. It shuts everything down, and they know it. It's worked up until now. Anybody that resists the movement in a counter protest, they label them as a white supremacist. No facts, no evidence, but they know exactly what they're doing. When they do this, and this includes the Democratic Party, when they do this, it is a propaganda technique. They know what they're doing. It shuts down any discussion and any examination of the facts.
Why is corporate America? You mentioned Coca-Cola. They're not the only ones. I mean, you had Goodyear Tire. They were given these training courses where white people had to stand up and say they were ashamed of being white, and they were sorry for being committing institutionalized racism, and which is, they're bringing people in to do what? Why is corporate America, whether it's the big tech companies or Coca-Cola or Goodyear Tire, or why are they doing this?
It's absolutely insane. Now, and we have to conclude that they're not stupid, that they don't know what Black Lives Matter really is, and that it's an attack on our constitutional form of government. They can't be that stupid. Some have postulated that they're trying to eliminate the middle class. But there's a couple of things. Some of these companies are being threatened by BLM. Their advertisers are being threatened by BLM. So they consider it, as insane as it is, a business move to support this movement, protect themselves from the attacks, especially on their advertisers. But it is insane. They have got to understand what they're supporting. This is a Marxist movement. This is a movement of anarchy against the United States, but they're contributing anyway. I think we're starting to see a wave where that stops, where they're finally realizing, this is what we've been supporting. But up until now, it has just been unbelievable that they're giving millions. I think the last count was $33 million to Black Lives Matter, without looking into what Black Lives Matter is all about.
What about NASCAR? I mean, they have wrecked NASCAR. NASCAR's pissed. They've lost a big chunk of their audience. The ratings for NBA, their playoffs, are in the tank. Major League Baseball taking a knee. NFL, now NHL. They're also doing this. What's up with this retarded, moronic indoctrination of, well, you have to be indoctrinated to enjoy our hockey or baseball or football or basketball, or people are turning it off?
Yeah. Well, what we've seen, Greg, is
why are they doing it?
We have seen a reversal. For example, the NFL, the owners of the NFL teams and the coaches no longer run the NFL. The NFL is now run by the players, who are telling the coaches and the owners, if you don't take a knee, if you don't support us publicly, then we're going to leave and go to another team and ruin your corporate finances that are coming. And so the owners are serving the players now. That's what's going on.
Wow. Are all these people doing this in baseball? I can't believe all the people in baseball. You do have, it used to be that the majority would stand for the flag and there'd be a few Kaepernicks. Now everybody is kneeling with a few people standing, because you're kneeling to the black hole of nothingness, Marxism, godlessness.
Yeah, kneel or lose your job. This is happening in corporate America. I saw it happen in the CIA. I blew the whistle on this in 1994 when this came into the CIA. Either you support and adopt this multicultural diversity movement attacking the U.S. Constitution and traditional values, you either support it or your career is in jeopardy. So they're afraid for their jobs. They're afraid for their corporate revenue if the players leave. And that is now what is happening. People are being motivated and they're acting out of fear. And that's what I addressed. They've got to stop being afraid of this movement. As long as they're afraid, it's gaining power day after day after day.
And that, listen, they're going to lose they have lost their fans.
Yeah,
I won't watch St. Louis Cardinal baseball.
yeah,
Turn it off. I don't want it.
yeah,
NFL, go. I haven't watched a Super Bowl in 3 years.
yeah.
So people should just turn it off.
They
Stop
should.
being afraid of it.
People should turn it off. They need to understand that this is a Marxist movement of anarchy in our country, supported now by the NFL. They need to turn off the NFL. They need to turn off the NBA, and they need to vote with their taking their support away from these organizations, so they understand that they're going to pay a price for supporting this unconstitutional anti-American behavior, and they're getting hit, and they're starting to feel the pain, and that's what needs to happen. They need to feel the pain of the American people who are finally standing up.
And I know you have done this in the CIA. I was going to bring this up because I thought we're going to keep this. But you have investigated satanic organizations. They always are. Satanic organizations are anti-American, period.
Yeah.
They're against the Constitution and freedom
Yeah.
and religious values that the country was founded on. So they
Yeah.
are against America. So
Yeah.
here are this list of symbols I pulled off the internet. Look at this one right here. This one in the middle, the same
Yeah.
as these other ones. And then if you look at this, here's what they did in Milwaukee, and boy, amazing. Here we go. Got to go this way, and then I got a blow up of it here. There you go. So to turn it sideways, it's come on, man. I mean, come on.
That's Baphomet, the satanic symbol. There's no question about it.
Oh,
It's the goat's head.
There we go. There we go. I got it right here. The goat's head. Yeah.
There it is.
So tell me about, is this a mistake? The fact checkers say that this is an accident. Oh no, is this an accident?
I have been following this, Greg, for 20 years. They have been using these symbols and inserting these symbols for 20 years, and that includes Hollywood, and that includes the music industry. There is a plethora of examples of the music industry putting a Baphomet and the goat's head and the upside down star in their symbiology. And as I told you, when I was a federal agent doing top secret background investigations, I busted a satanic ring in Arlington, Virginia. That was happening in the high school. This stuff is real. This stuff has been going on for decades. This stuff has crept into government, into some government officials, no doubt into Hollywood, and no doubt into the music industry.
Is this a part of, I saw some video some preacher was on talking about the people that started Black Lives Matter. They say they're witches. I mean, they're totally anti-God, that's for sure. They're anti-family, they're
Absolutely.
They want daddy out of the house. They're anti-traditional family, which is man and woman. That's all God. They are anti-Christ. They're anti-God. They're anti-Christian. I mean, this is the Democrat Party of today.
Let's just put it straight out. They're anti-Christ, and you're right. They're anti-Christian. They're anti-traditional values. That is the Democratic Party. People need to understand that. Now, I'm independent. I vote based on the facts, but the Democratic Party has been a dark umbrella for every reprobate group in the United States, and that includes this sort of thing. The occult and Satanism are falling under the Democratic Party, and members of the Democratic Party. If you're a Democrat, and I say this on my own program, if you're a Democrat, get out. If you've got any sort of conscience or any sort of intellectual ability to understand what they are, get out of the Democratic Party. It is not the same party of JFK.
If you are in the Democrat Party and you're a Christian, can you be a Christian and be in the Democrat Party with all the organ harvesting? And in some cases, they've admitted, Planned Parenthood, that they have harvested the organs of live babies. In my state here, Governor Baby Killer Cooper vetoed a bill that would protect babies because I think he knows full well they harvest the organs of live babies. This is admitted by Planned Parenthood under oath in videotape depositions. You can find it on the Center for Medical Progress. It's there. Yes. They did it. It's a fact.
They did.
Can you be a Christian and vote Democrat?
No. If you are a legitimate, real Christian, you are supporting the killing of unborn babies, the dissecting and selling of their body parts. If you are an actual, real, practicing Christian, you cannot support what amounts to murder. Pure and simple. I've had Democrats tell me, well, I've been a Democrat my whole life. My family's been Democrats. That is no excuse. That is no excuse for supporting this sort of thing if you're a Christian. You cannot be a practicing Christian now and be a Democrat. Read the Democratic platform, for goodness sake. The two cannot coexist.
You wrote on your website about Black Lives Matter, violence to power, not civil rights. They want to tell you it's about civil rights. It's about hunting down black men. It's about the cops hunting down black men and murdering them, which is a complete myth.
It is.
Tell me about that.
It's a complete lie and a fabrication. Once again, it's propaganda. The ones that have been engaging in the violent activity are Black Lives Matter. I don't know if people saw the video where a Black Lives Matter inspired member went up behind this white man and hit him in the head with a brick and knocked him out. How about the 3 different videos where BLM members are knocking white people down and kicking them in the head, which is a potentially lethal blow, as hard as they can? They are engaging in attempted murder and horrific violence, and they're going to continue to do that. And of course, they got to label everybody else, which is typical of propagandists. They got to label everybody else as doing what they're doing.
What happens after the election? Number one, who do you think is going to win the election?
I think Donald Trump is going to mop the floor with Joe Biden.
Oh, really? Even the Washington Post said if it's not an overwhelming landslide for Joe Biden, expect violence. I mean,
Trump's going to win, but when Trump wins, these people are going to go. It's like the prophets of Baal crying and cutting themselves with stones in the Old Testament. When Trump wins, they are just going to go crazy and escalate the violence.
What should people do?
People need to be prepared. They need to be situationally aware when they're out in public. That includes malls, gas stations, especially in the line voting. And people need to go out personally and vote personally, not by mail-in. They need so that when they do the exit polls, they're accurate. But people need to understand, people that are representing Trump, people that are at protests countering representing Trump, they need to understand they are in danger. It is clear that they have an organized effort to attack Trump supporters and conservatives with violence. So people need to be prepared, situationally aware of their surroundings, where they are, look for somebody following them, look for a brewing protest on the street, and things like that.
Do you think the vote by the cheat by mail campaign is going to work? I mean, I brought this up in my weekly news wrap up. There was a bipartisan commission. It was James Baker and former President Carter who said, voting by mail leads to fraud and coercion. It's a scam. This is in 2009. It was a bipartisan commission, so they know it's a scam.
Yeah.
Did they execute this plan, which is, again, you've talked about them being desperate? Well, they needed to start this a year and a half ago to be able to pull this off, and they didn't. I mean, can they even pull this off, this vote by mail, or will the ballots come in after the election day or be actually filled out after the election day, and they'll be void?
Well, they're a little late in the game, so I don't think that's going to work.
Talk about that.
What they may do is the ballots don't come in. The ballots don't come in until after the election, so they're too late. But then they're going to claim, wait a minute, we've got all these votes that weren't counted, so we're going to contest the election. That's already part of their plan. That's in the plan. They know that these mail-in votes are not going to work this late in the game. But after the election, they're going to claim that these mail-in ballots are a reason for Joe Biden to contest the election and not concede. Just watch it happen.
That's what Hillary Clinton said.
Yeah. Right.
She said that they should, by all means, not do, no matter what, don't concede the election.
Right. Yep. That's what they plan to do.
So their plan is to contest the election.
Their plan is to contest the election, and they're going to use late mail-in ballots to do it. They are not going to give this election up. People need to get ready for that. They're going to contest it, and they're not going to. Joe Biden is not going to accept the defeat that he's going to get.
Let's talk about, I wanted to bring this up. I've written on my website, people had some derogatory things to say about you and me, and about Q. And I said, stop the Q. I don't post under G. You don't post under K. George Washington didn't lead the Revolutionary Army under G or W because they would have hung him if they would have caught him. I said, let's just, there's plenty of misses on Q. Let's just go. Sessions is a good guy, says Q. Trust the plan. Really? He's a good guy? Fired the day after the midterm election? He caused the Mueller investigation by recusing himself the day after he took the job. He turned the president over to a bunch of Democrat jackals that did nothing but try to put anybody and everybody who touched the president or talked to him in jail. The president backed Tuberville in the Alabama Senate race. The president put out on his Twitter page to 85 million people that Sessions should drop out of the race. He's not a good guy. That's a huge miss on Q. You can't put a coat of white paint on that dung heap of Sessions is a good guy and tell me that Q is accurate and real.
Greg, I am a voice, and I consider this a mission, something that I have to do. There's a lot of good people out there that are following Q, and they're not critically examining Q's posts. Many of which have been very seriously wrong. And I've got some here. You remember one of the posts is, this is a quote, HRC extradition already in motion, effective yesterday with several countries in case of cross-border run. Passport approved to be flagged effective 10:30, 12:01 a.m. That was a Q post. That didn't happen.
When was that?
That was back in October 28th of 2017.
Oh.
There are several others just like that did not happen. And what I am encouraging people to do is critically examine Q posts. Many of them are not only erroneous, but a lot of them are like Nostradamus. They're so broad that the person can interpret them any way that they can. And there have been entire groups raised up to try to interpret those. For example, here's a Q drop number 2506, quote, pain coming soon to those who doubted Jeff Sessions and John Huber. That was a Q drop. People need to understand that didn't happen. That is fake.
Huber crawled into some hole somewhere, investigated Hillary Clinton for a year and a half, and nothing here. Huber.
And then came out and did nothing, did no investigation whatsoever.
Would anybody in the intelligence world, being you are a former CIA officer who protected one of the CIA directors, I think it's William Casey, am I right?
You're right.
Okay, so you had a high clearance a little bit?
Yeah.
And would anybody be able to drop classified information out on 4chan or 8chan or any Chan or Charlie Chan and be able to do this for a year and a half, 2 years?
Greg, I was a CIA counterintelligence investigator looking for moles in the CIA. I had the highest clearance in the U.S. government. As soon as Q came out and I looked at it, I immediately knew that Q was not legitimate. Let me tell you this. If there was a high-level government official with a high-level government clearance that was dropping classified information on 4chan, which is usually used by pedophiles, human trafficking, drug trafficking, and other things. If a high-level official dropped classified information on the dark net, they would be identified and arrested within a week because everybody that has a Q clearance, the few that do are easily located, and that person would be arrested within a week. It is not legitimate.
Just so people know, this isn't just you. Just in the last, couple of weeks, Mike Pence, the vice president, came out and disavowed Q. Kevin McCarthy, the minority leader, probably soon to be Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy dunked on Q. I mean, listen, if you think this is some White House operation, according to Kevin McCarthy and Mike Pence, it's not.
Well, and even now, White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany, if I'm pronouncing it right, came out and claimed to Fox News that Trump does not support the movement and has never mentioned it and doesn't know much about it. That was an official statement. Representative Adam Kinzinger of the GOP said it's time for lawmakers to emphatically denounce Q. Sebastian Gorka, former advisor to President Trump, got a great radio. I have a lot of respect for him, came out and called Q garbage. The Baptist Theological Seminary president, Albert Mohler, has come out and called it garbage. So people, and he even said it's worse than that. He said it's Gnosticism, belief in a secret cabal. So yes, people are coming out left and right and denouncing this, which is important because people need to understand what they're following.
And it's not helpful. You're sitting in front of your computer instead of going to get people to register to vote, to get involved in supervising your elections, to getting out there writing articles and Facebook page posts and standing up and sticking out there. But here's the thing, and here's what I want to make clear. Q is not QAnons. These are people, QAnons, listen, are good patriots. They're worried about the country, and so am I, and so are you.
We are.
These people are patriots. They're worried about, and I think they're being misled and duped into doing nothing while Antifa and Black Lives Matter burn down our country.
That's my point. These are good people. These are good people that want justice and are hoping for justice, but now they're being told to trust the plan, don't do their own critical analysis, just sit behind their computer and analyze Q drops. That's exactly what the cabal wants, to keep people off the street from supporting Trump, supporting the administration, and coming against some of this corruption. People need to be out there making their voice heard, and this is causing them to sit in front of their computer for hours and analyze these drops.
Could the let's move back to the election here. So we got that.
Yeah.
So we have that. So could the election be such a blowout that it won't be able to be effectively contested? I mean, I think it's going to be I mean, now we're looking at now the latest poll says 40-something% of blacks are going to vote. We're talking about millions more people voting for Trump. I mean, this is there's got to be Democrats that have to be looking at this in fear, going, "Woo, this ain't what I've signed up for." Burning things down and free stuff for everybody and a giant wealth grab. Could the election be a blowout so big that they won't be able to contest it or effectively contest it?
I think, Greg, that is entirely possible. People have seen this violence. People have seen these violent attacks, including Democrats. They cannot vote to support that. I think Trump is going to have a wider margin of victory than he did in 2016.
Really? Why?
Yeah, because of what the Democratic Party and the left have shot themselves in the foot, thinking that encouraging these violences, many of the Democratic congressmen and senators have, encouraging this violence, thinking that it was going to make Trump look bad or unseat or make things unstable. It has backfired on them. These rioters have gotten so violent. The looting have gotten so violent. It is backfiring on the Democratic Party and even the news media. And I think some of them are starting to realize it, but it's a little bit too late. They were encouraging this violence. They were encouraging this looting to try to turn people against Donald Trump, and the opposite has happened.
Yes, well, they would just ignore it. I mean, it was like Baghdad Bob. Remember that? He'd be, there'd be A-10s flying around in the background.
Right.
There'd be a pincer movement coming into Baghdad, bombing. Yeah. We're going to destroy the infidels, and they're losing. It's obvious.
Yeah, they do. They do know they're losing.
Do you think they know they're losing? But Paul Craig Roberts came up and said that it's safe to assume the Democrats know they've already lost. And now they're trying to figure out a way to cheat themselves in. Do you agree with that?
I do. They do know they've lost, and you can tell by some of the desperate statements that they're making. Oh yeah, they know they've lost, and Joe Biden sadly gets worse and worse and worse by the week in terms of his mental acuity, and they know it. It's gotten to the point of almost being embarrassing and cruel for the Democratic Party to keep putting him in that position. So they see that decline. They see the backfiring of the right. Oh, they are terrified.
I don't know how he could. He's already signed on for 3, and just recently, just this past week, basically confirmed. Yeah, we're gonna have 3 debates. I was watching a boxing match one time. And it was 2 guys, and the one fighter was completely superior. He was pounding the living crap out of this guy. And at one point in the fight, he looked over to the ref and went, "What are you doing? Stop the fight." I mean, that's what I see with this Biden thing. Yeah. I mean, I see him with a teaspoon and Trump with a sword about 4 feet long.
Debates, don't hold your breath. Donald Trump would completely decimate Joe Biden. Joe Biden would have difficulty even reading a prompter, for goodness sake. They know that. They're going to try everything they can to keep these debates from happening. They're going to use COVID. Oh, well, there's a COVID threat. So they're going to have Biden like the speech he just gave, where they had little circles, were chosen representatives of the news sat around in this circle. There was no audience there, and Biden read his prompter. They're going to try to do that kind of thing. They know if Biden gets in any debate with Trump in his mental state right now, it would be embarrassing and sad.
So you think that them saying, "Oh, we're going to have a debate," that's just a ruse? They know they're not going to do one.
No, I don't think. I think they'll do everything they can not to have a debate and make excuses to make it look like it's a legitimate reason.
So they're just lying again. They're just trying to set the table. Say, "Oh no, we want to have a debate," and they have no intention.
That's what they do, is lie. Yeah, that's part of their MO. They don't want Joe Biden up on the stage debating Donald Trump. Of course not. They're going to try everything they can do and every excuse they can to keep that from happening.
KevinShipp.com. your new website. It was called fortheloveofreedom.net for you people that don't know. You write something all the time, 4 or 5 days a week. You're now you have a completely different format where you can do even more. You're doing a newsletter. Tell me what's going on with kevinshipp.com, which I'm going to link to at the after the interview section.
Well, I'm posting videos on there that can't be manipulated or censored by Google or YouTube and other things. So it's a secure platform. So I can post things and they can't be taken down or manipulated. It is a platform where I can put information like we're doing today out to people, and they can get that daily. There'll be a newsletter that's going out once a month. The goal is factual information to inform people out there about what is really going on with this website in a way that it can't be censored or altered.
That's right. Okay, good. You know, the guy that's helping you also helped me, and he said, you know, listen, all these other platforms. He said this to me 10 years ago. All these Twitter, Facebook, you know, now Instagram. You know, all these other platforms, you're just a renter. You're a squatter. The only thing you own is USAWatchdog.com.
Right.
And in your case, KevinShipp.com. So with that, and there's also a donation page. I'll put some your donation links up. There's multiple ways to donate, including a snail mail address. Kevin Shipp, thank you for coming on and give us a pretty nice full-scale update to a lot of the things going on in America today. Kevin Shipp of kevinshipp.com. Thank you for joining us today. Your former CIA officer, whistleblower, counterintelligence expert. Kevin Shipp, thank you for joining us today on USAWatchdog.com.
Greg, my friend, it's always
one last
friendly.
thing. Hold on. Oh, where's the... here we go. There'll be a link to this too. Listen. You wrote this a few years ago. You're going to write another book. I don't know, the deeper state, deep diving into the deeper state, or something like that. This is about the deep state. This book is a tool, right?
Well, it's one of a kind in that I built a code in that book that uncovers the illegal blackouts that the CIA put in there. So that book has a code in it that got through the CIA censors, and there's nothing they can do because it exposes their illegal activity. So From the Company of Shadow is pretty unique.
And you're going to be doing another book sometime in the future.
Yes.
Hopefully you'll get me first crack at that.
Right.
All right, pal. Listen, thanks so much. Kevin Shipp of kevinshipp.com. Thank you for joining us today on USAWatchdog.com. There'll be a link for the book in the after the interview section too. Thanks a lot, Kevin. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, my friend.